Hi, I'm Nancy Cavey, National ERISA and Individual Disability Attorney. Welcome to Winning Isn't Easy. Before we get started today, I have to give you a legal disclaimer required by the Florida Bar. This podcast is not legal advice, but nothing is going to prevent me from giving you an easy-to-understand overview of the disability insurance world, the games the disability carriers play, and what you need to know to get the disability benefits you deserve. So away we go. We've been talking about the disability insurance application process and all the forms that have to be filled out. The application form, the attending physician statement form, the work history form, the occupational forms that you're going to be filling out, and those blasted activity of daily living forms. In the next 4 episodes, I'm going to be talking about the field interview. There are 24 types of questions you could be asked during a field interview, and I'm going to cover 6 each week. If you get a call for a field interview, you are being set up for a claims denial. You need protection from yourself and from the disability carrier. So are you ready to learn more about the field interview and hear the first 6 mistakes that you can make? Great. So here are our topics. Number 1, an introduction to the not so social friendly visit from the disability carrier, an overview of the field interview. Number 2 is going to be traps 1 through 6 that are waiting for you in that field statement and how you can avoid making a mistake that will destroy your claim. So before we get started, we're going to take a quick break, and I want you to stay tuned and join me back in a minute.
Have you been robbed of your peace of mind from your disability insurance carrier? You owe it to yourself to get a copy of Robbed of Your Peace of Mind, which provides you with everything you need to know about the long-term disability claim process. Request your free copy of the book at caveylaw.com today.
Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. I'm going to first give you an introduction of the not-so-friendly social visit from the disability carrier. Your claim, in my view, is in trouble if the long-term disability carrier or the ERISA carrier calls you and asks to take your statement or arrange for a field visit. In my experience, disability claims are generally denied for 3 reasons. First, there's no objective evidence of your diagnosis. 2, there's no objective evidence of your disability. And thirdly, there's no causal relationship between your disability and your inability to engage in your primary occupation or any other occupation. So the carrier wants to take your statement or arrange for the field visit because they're questioning what your doctor has said about your restrictions and limitations and what you're reporting on your activities of daily living forms. They're questioning your credibility, your honesty, and they're questioning your inability to engage in your primary occupation or any other occupation. Now, unfortunately, by the time the long-term disability carrier has asked to take your statement or arrange for a field visit, they've probably done surveillance on you. And I'm going to talk about surveillance in some later episodes. They want to interview you and have you describe your activity. And once you've done that, they'll have you sign a statement about your activities. And as soon as you've signed that statement, they're going to spring that surveillance tape on you. And then they're going to ask you to comment on the tape. They want you to acknowledge the difference between the statements you just gave, what's shown on the tape, what you've told the doctor, and what's on your activity of daily living forms. They're then going to take that information to your doctors and say, look, you, doctor, relied on what they had to say in rendering opinions regarding restrictions and limitations. And obviously what's shown in the surveillance and what they're saying is not consistent. So don't you agree that your patient is capable of engaging in at least sedentary work, and in fact could go back to their own work? They've sprung a trap on you for the purposes of portraying you as a malingerer or a fraud. And the sole purpose is to deny and terminate your benefits. It's my strong recommendation that if you've been asked to give a statement or the carrier wants to have a field visit, that you immediately retain an experienced disability attorney. Now, why? You need to be prepared. You need to have someone who will discuss with you the questions that are going to be asked, prepare you, and be present, because you don't want to be asked open-ended questions. You want to make sure you've practiced this and that your answers ultimately are accurate and truthful. and you want this statement to be done in a neutral location, I never, ever, ever allow for a statement to be taken or a field visit done at my client's home. Why? I often see statement summaries with questions and comments about how the house looks, so clean and beautiful, how the yard looks, how the cars are clean, and what kind of cars they are. Now, seemingly innocently, you might be asked how you keep up with your housework, how you keep up with the yard work, and you may give an information, a question, or an answer to that question that can be interpreted very broadly and in a way that the carrier is going to use that information to draw conclusions about your ability to work. So we've set the playing field, if you will. Before we get started talking about the first 6 traps, let's take a quick break, all right?
Are you a professional with questions about your individual disability policy? You need the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. This book gives you a comprehensive understanding of your disability policy with tips and to-dos regarding your disability application that will assist you in submitting a winning disability application. This is one you won't want to miss. For the next 24 hours, we are giving away free copies of the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. Order yours today at disabilityclaimsforprofessionals.com.
All right, welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. We're going to talk about the first 6 traps that are waiting for you in your field statement and how you can avoid making a mistake that will destroy your claim. Now, mistake number 1 is giving a statement without representation. Do you know what's in your medical records? Have you compared your medical records to what you put on your ADL responses? Do you know what questions you're going to be asked and how to answer those questions? Probably no. You need to be prepared for this statement. Now, it involves me or another attorney reviewing all your records so that we know what the doctor has said about your complaints, what your symptoms are, what you've told them about your activities of daily living. And we want to know what the doctor has said about your physical abilities. That also means that we get to review your activity of daily living forms because we're looking for inconsistencies. Now, I have a video and a book that I ask my clients to review about statement preparation so they understand the process, what they're going to be asked, and how to properly answer the questions. And I always insist that this statement be taken in a neutral place because mistake number 2 is letting the disability rats visit your house. Now, this is not a social call. They're not coming to wish you well. They're not coming to offer you any assistance in returning to work. What they're doing is setting you up, as I've said, for a claims denial. I've seen lots of summaries where insurance companies are taking these statements, and the summary is self-serving and completely inaccurate. And what that means, of course, is that they are going to be making observations about you, your home, your car, your yard, things that are going to potentially lead them to conclude that based on the appearance of your house, what might be cooking on the stove, the appearance of your yard, how clean your cars are, that somehow you are able to work. And as I've said before, they probably are going to have surveillance on you probably several days before and several days after, because they want to catch you doing something outside of your house, carrying in groceries, stopping, making numerous stops as you're coming back to the doctor's office, going to the grocery store, going to the gas station, doing activities that are inconsistent with what it is you've had to say. Or worse yet, they may actually catch you doing something outside, like building a porch, like one of my clients recently did. Like, really? So we want to make sure that this is a situation where we are in a neutral location and that you are prepared for the statement. Now, you're going to get questions about your medical condition. They're going to be asking you about what's your disabling medical condition and what are your symptoms. I think this is silly. You've been filling out statements about your condition on a regular basis. The carrier has had your doctor fill out attending physician statement forms at least probably once every 3 months. Can't the adjuster read? Now, you probably haven't seen what your physician has said in your medical records or how they've completed out the forms. And what this is about is to try to catch you in discrepancies about what your symptoms are, how those symptoms impact your ability to function, you complaining of different conditions that you than you've been claiming as being disabled, or even different medical conditions that are discussed in your medical records. So again, you are going to be asked about what your symptoms are, and they're going to compare those symptoms to what it is that's reported in your medical records. And that question is a prelude to asking you what you can and cannot do. So the insurance company wants to see whether your complaints about your symptoms and your physical activity are consistent with what's in the doctor's notes, what you've put on the activity of daily living forms, and of course, any surveillance that they've done on you. So if you say, my symptoms prevent me from lifting, bending, or stooping because I have constant back pain, and they have videotape of you building a porch or a deck, you're in trouble, as you should be. But that's an extreme example. I've seen many times where disability carriers will go to unnatural extremes. What do I mean? Well, if you say your symptoms prevent you from lifting, and they have a picture of you lifting a case of soda out of the back of your trunk, does that really mean that you can engage in lifting something that weighs more than a case of Cokes or a case of beer, and that you can do it on a repetitive basis, and that you don't have to alternate sitting or standing or have to take a break? So we want to make sure that the disability carrier isn't taking innocuous statements and blowing them up into an ability to work. Now, that's a lot of crazy mistakes that we've covered so far. So I want you to take a few seconds to think about this, and we're going to take a quick break because we're going to come back and talk about the next 3 mistakes. So stay tuned.